Thank you very much for sending me a book and your paper. I did my best to read them in the time, because they are not read that quickly, are they? But I've done my best to acquaint myself with your work. And so if I...
Right, well now how shall we begin?
You wanted to discuss the relationship between time and eternity.
Yes, now, yes, I heard part of one of your tapes until it broke. But now I've been interested, I don't know if you got far enough in the book to see that I'm interested in the question of time and what is beyond time, haven't you?
Yes. I think I have pretty well absorbed your ideas, although I wouldn't like to say I have. But I think I have. I think I know where you are at, if I might say that.
Yes, now I was proposing that time would take the form of moments or movements of different scales, right?
Yeah.
You know, and some might be long, some might be short, and that these are a kind of projection from what is beyond time.
Yes.
Now, the moments succeed each other, and each moment contains in some way a memory of the previous one, which contains a moment of the one before, and so on. So there's a natural unfoldment of order in this succession of moments.
Or continuity.
Yes. But it's also that each new moment has something which was not in the previous one, but it has a memory of the previous one. And it's like these Russian dolls, a bit, one within the other.
Yeah.
But there's something more in each moment than there was something new, right, creative. Now, the memory is carried along, and some of it is lost, right? And I want to propose that as far as natural objects are concerned, a similar way of describing them should be developed. That they have their own moments, and vast sets of moments organized.
Yeah.
Or even our own consciousness might have some moments in it, the general moment and sub-moments.
Yes.
And now, all of this unfolds from what you may call eternity, although the word suggests endless time, which is not the best word. This is for me. What?
I have to say,
What?
I think I should say, if I might respond, when you say endless time, which is not acceptable to you, what you consider to be time is not time at all, where I come from. And as therefore, time is endless. Time has no time. But what you consider to be time is past. And that is where the fundamental error of science occurs. That is a fundamental error.
Yes, well, time is the past in the sense that and it cannot be described without the past, right? Because it's only, if we say now, it's already past, clearly.
Yes.
So, but there's a constant succession of these moments, in the sense that what is past now is different from what was past a moment ago.
Yes.
Right?
And that is time.
That is time. And the present moment contains a memory. The past of the present moment contains a memory of the past moment.
Yes, and that is continuity.
Yes.
But time is discontinuity.
The time is, what do you mean by that?
I mean that it is new every moment.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say, that there's always something new in each moment, but it also contains the old.
No, well, yes, but it doesn't contain the old. The old is the old is implicit in it,
but
it doesn't contain the old.
Well, that's what I mean by contain. It's enfolded in it.
Okay. Okay, but where are you coming from? Are you coming from the past, or are you coming from the moment, which is the discontinuous? That's the fundamental question, isn't it? Where are you coming from? You see, I have to say this just so we get where we are. I have to state my position, because unless one states one's position, you can't understand where I'm coming from. Would that be fair enough? I take a certain position, which is no position. So therefore, I have to say to you, I am consciousness. I am in eternity now. I am consciousness.
All right.
Right. Now that's fair enough, because you can question me on
Yeah,
At least
we'll
you
come
know
to
where
that
I come
presently,
from.
Yes. Now, I'm trying to say from the point of view of science, at least it has not been possible to take that position insofar as you want to describe it and to communicate it, and to
But
work
you
with
seem
it.
to be coming up towards it.
Yes, we're exploring it, you see.
You are, anyway.
At least I'm exploring it. But I'm saying that in general, as soon as you say something about it, then that's in the past, right?
Yes.
Now, you're making a sort of a picture or a model of it, saying a nested set of moments which unfold each other. And then it is implied. So if you start from there, then the present is implied, right? Hmm?
Yeah.
Whereas you want to say start from the present and the past is implied. Huh? Is that what you're saying? Hmm? Right or wrong?
There is no past in the present.
Well, but what is the memory?
That is the notion. Memory is the notion. And the notion is what comes between the present and the past. That not be so?
I don't get it.
No, I see. Okay. One is holding on to. That's the memory, right? There's a part of us that holds on to.
Yes, but you, for example, you are still using memory. I mean, you may remember this occasion. Right?
Oh, yes, if I want to, yes.
Yes.
I have access to a memorable apparatus.
Yes.
But can I be present? Can I demonstrate my presence? That's the important thing, isn't it? To demonstrate presence, which means I am discontinuous. My consciousness, like yours, is discontinuous. Therefore, I can discuss time or eternity with you and demonstrate it to your reasonable satisfaction, where you would be able to continue to listen. The point is that in us being together, only one of two things can happen. There are two consciousnesses here. Two consciousnesses. One is what you call the implicate order, which I say really means the implicit order.
Yeah.
Not implicate, because that suggests to me action.
What
Implicit.
suggests action?
The AT or ATE on the end of it suggests
Well, it can be
some sort of
also
projection.
suggest an adjective, you see. Not that is implicate, but
To implicate, yes.
no, but I mean an adjective implicate. You see that is ate can also sometimes be used as an adjective form. You see.
Then it seems to me that only the two things can happen here. The consciousness of two individuals is here now, and one is the scientific and the other is the other, whatever the other is. It's a wonderful thing where you are going to inform my consciousness and I'm going to inform yours.
Yes. Now, what about these?
I'm going to try and bring you onto the discontinuous in your consciousness, and you are endeavoring to get there, or you are there anyway, by what you're writing, because you're coming up from matter, from particles.
Mm-hmm.
You're coming up from the particles up to the whole, and I'm coming, what I say I'm coming, I've got to demonstrate it to you, from the whole. I have reached the whole.
Yes. Now, why is there two people? You see, if there's a whole, you see, that's the first question. Why are there many people? You see, as in the whole.
Because they are of the extricate order, your extricate order.
Extricate order, yeah.
Yes, they are of the past. My body is of past. I am continue only of past.
Well, yes, that's not clear because you see, you depend on the body to exist, right? In a sense, if something happens to the body, for example, if the heart stops beating, then you're not there, right?
Well, that is not demonstrable, but it is demonstrable as far as you can ask the person to respond to you and they can't respond.
No. Well,
That's fair enough.
Yes, at least there's a very fundamental change without the body, right?
Yes, because the presence goes out of the body, so therefore the past cannot exist on its own. It has to have the presence of consciousness present. See, consciousness is presence.
Yeah.
And without the consciousness in the body, the past is left and the past cannot. It just goes. Would that be so?
Well, let's take matter in general, you see, the whole world, right? Now, do you say it's there or not there? I mean, we have the world of nature and so on, the universe.
Yes. Is it there?
Yeah.
You are there now. Yes, everything is here now. Yes, it is.
Yes, but I meant, is it there without
the presence of consciousness?
Somebody's conscious, without Mike. Well,
There is a continuity of past in it. As the past, it is there. As a continuity, but continuity is not the truth. As you say in here, you reveal it, continuously say it.
Right.
You mention about this new discontinuity, where the electron can be both matter and wave and something in between. That is a discontinuous state. That is the truth. Now, why, when you say it there, why is it so different what I'm saying? You're saying exactly the same thing, but applying it only to an electron or a particle.
Well, yeah. You see, I think we've got to get clear. If we begin, for example, you yourself use the notion of evolution. We say that now scientifically it's commonly accepted that evolution took place in nature.
Yeah.
And
that's a past model, let us say.
What?
A good model of the past.
Yes. All right. Now, do you say it has taken place or not?
Yes, in the past.
Yes. But
there's a continuity too, a demonstrable continuity.
Yeah.
It's the past is always demonstrably continuous up to the present. But there's another state which you're trying to say in there and get to, which is the ever-present state of consciousness. But then there is the present of ever-present state of past consciousness.
Yeah. Well, the past is constantly present, right?
Not all of it. Only
some
in
of
the
it.
moment. Only what is here now. I mean, your
Yeah.
body is present now. That represents the past, as I say, and so does mine.
Yes.
The past is present in as much as my body is past, and all that contains the past in it. But at this moment, it is present as the past, and that's all that is present is the past, because all that exists
you
is
say
in
all
the past.
matter is the past. But you
Yes.
say, but if it is present, it's also the present.
No, the consciousness is present, Mr. Bohm.
And what about all of these things?
These things are reflected are reflected as present in the consciousness, but only the consciousness is present. That's why you can take a thing away, and the present still is. So you can take everything away, and that's what happens in death. And the consciousness, the presence, still is. And that's what happens in sleep, in deep dreamless sleep. The present still is. But I can't demonstrate that. But so everything is reflected in the consciousness observing it.
Now that's
As the
so
present.
Yeah, but so is there some reality beyond the consciousness, to which this corresponds? You see, saying, does this have some ground beyond our own particular consciousness?
Yes, that has the ground. That has the ground of the past.
Yeah, but the past. Yeah.
And the past is the ground of the presence in this sense-perceived existence. The past is the ground of the presence, which I am in this pen and you, in this sense as consciousness in this sense-perceived existence. That'll be fair enough, wouldn't it? Therefore, could I demonstrate it further? If an experiment which you are conducting with your electron and firing an electron, and you've got a lens and various other things, and you are here, the ground of it all is all the objects, and the presence, which is the present, is the observer. Inasmuch as he leaves himself out, he is just a part of the past, all interacting, and therefore nothing is achieved, nothing of value. Nothing of value is achieved. Only when the observer is a part of the whole experiment, includes himself. As a matter of fact, I wrote this after reading it. The observing apparatus is the experiment. And unless he does that, he is achieving nothing whatever. He will go on splitting particles and finding more and more and more, because he is then in the infinite world of the past, and it is infinite. Now, infinite there does not mean something of value. It means something of everlasting ignorance. But I have to demonstrate that to you. So therefore you can go out into space there, which represents the everlasting infinite, and you can travel on forever and ever and never find the truth. Doesn't matter where you go, or into the world of a particle, you can go on and never find the truth. Because you are not including yourself in the experiment.
Right. Well, now, there's several questions here. One is, what do you mean by yourself? Are we all different selves?
We are all different selves in as much as we are all different pasts, yes.
But otherwise, we're not.
We are individual consciousness, which
Because
is a
of our
uniqueness.
past.
No. We are individual consciousness, and yet we are one. There's only one consciousness, but it is made up. But it is a quality of consciousness that it is totally one, and yet individual in its ability to occupy a position in time and space in the past. It can have an individual consciousness, but it knows it is one with the total, what you call the implicate order. It knows I am the implicate order. Use your term.
Yeah, well, would you say then that all our consciousness is one, that we are under the ground is one?
Yes, the field is one.
The field is
I
one.
use the word, I am the field of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the ground is contained in the field, so all the experiments and all the particles are within my field. And you could say the same if you would utter it.
Yes. Now, why do we have you and me? You see, it's not. You see, there are various questions. Why is there
That's fair
time,
enough.
for example?
That's fair enough, yes. There is time because the idea of time, is it not, which you are endeavoring to do with your particles and various things, is to get time up to the present. In other words, to get back to the beginning. Is that not so? Are you not examining all the particles to get time to find the last particle which is at the beginning? And isn't the beginning back at the present?
No, you could say the immediate.
I'd use immediate. I am the immediate consciousness, I say. You don't have to believe
Now,
me.
the past is the mediated consciousness.
Yes, the immediate consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So all your examination of particles is the examination of the mediate to get back to the immediate.
Now, why is mediation necessary? See, it's not clear why consciousness should be doing all this. I mean, producing.
That is a
past.
question.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask you a question.
Why?
Why are you doing all this
Yeah.
experimentation instead of finding the implicate order within? Why are you looking for an implicate order in your subconscious and outside? The subconscious being your thought patterns and your idea patterns, the extricate order being the material order. Why are you looking only in there? For the subconscious is the medial, is the intermediate. Why are you wasting? I'm just asking this hypothetically. Why are you wasting your time?
Yes.
Why are you?
Yes, well, I could ask another question. Do you see any value in scientific work?
Scientific work is wonderful. It is so creative. It is magnificent. It is an example of the creativity of man. Discovering the wonder of the sense-perceived existence. I love science, but it has no value. It has no value. It is serving nothing. Now, unless intelligence serves something of value, you can forget it. To put someone on the moon is serving nothing of value whatever. Now, that is its problem.
Yeah, well,
Now, why is it wasting this time?
yes, well, and I wanted to ask the question: Why has consciousness split into individuals who are evolving in time? That's why has consciousness involved itself in time?
Yes. In the beginning, we're going to use a model. Okay, so I'm going to use a past model because that's all we've got. We've only got the extricate order. And that includes the subconscious and the material order. In the beginning, life began on Earth in form as an extra part of the extricate order. It then evolved up to a certain point, let's say to the human mechanism, where the human mechanism, the human brain, which is completely unique on the planet, evolved out of all the other brains. At that point, the creative spirit, that which is you, came into existence. It did not evolve with the body.
And when did it come into existence?
Well, we're going to use time past. I'll just give a figure. Right? Give a figure. Let's say round about 12,000 years ago. Just to indicate time. The rest of the time, from the beginning of life on Earth, was the development of the apparatus.
Yes, now that...
Before that, man was not creative.
Yes, the thing is not clear is this, that I'm trying to get clear that here you're presupposing matter as existent and evolving, and the spirit as coming out of that, or at least coming at a certain moment there.
Yes.
Whereas previously we're saying that the consciousness is independent, and that the past is only a kind of a mediation.
Yes, that is so.
So it seems there are two different points of view there.
Fair enough. There are two different, because they come in like this. One comes in from there, that's the material order.
Yeah.
There. And here is the creative order.
Yeah.
Creative in itself as an individual expression of consciousness. Because this was not an individual, this was an expression, although it didn't exist, because we've got to say it's for the past, because the past then did or did not exist, it doesn't matter, because the creative area did exist. The creative existed because this can only take its rise from the creative.
Yeah, well, I'm not very clear how these are related. You see that?
Yes, it makes it very difficult then. Yes, I understand. I mean, I've written a whole book on this thing.
Yeah, you see, this is one of the problems that's always been there. If you say matter is unfolding from consciousness, then you say, why, in time, then you turn around and say that matter is evolving in the body, and suddenly there appears
the creative element appears. That is the self-reflective capability which man did not have before.
Could we look at it this way, that consciousness is eternal?
Yes.
But that matter is evolving, but I don't know exactly why consciousness is producing matter. And then at a certain stage, consciousness can reflect on itself through this material being, right?
Yes.
What you can call, maybe you say that's the moment of creativity.
Reflect on itself.
To see itself, as it were, you see that.
To see itself in the matter.
In matter.
So that it turns itself back on itself and stops looking in the matter itself, which is a part of evolution.
But the matter reflects it back to itself.
That is so.
So it sees itself through matter, right?
Yes, or better still, yes, it reflects, it's forced to eventually, like the individual scientist must do. The body of science will never do it. The individual scientist, forced by the sincerity and earnestness of his inquiry, to eventually look back on himself. And then he sees, my God, that and this is one. The very point you try to make in your paper here, that the fact is, where I come from, that the material is the consciousness, and the consciousness is the material. There is nothing in between, except the past. But I have eliminated the past.
Yes, well, what is the past then? I mean, the past is
the notion.
The past is a kind of appearance.
No, the notion.
Notion, right?
Yeah, there's no appearance of the past. The past is all right in itself, because that is the part of the consciousness. But it's the notion that makes us inquire into the past, that gets between the past and the present, or the
Why do
immediate.
you call it the notion? I mean,
the thinking apparatus that needs to know.
Yes. Now, why
That
is
is
that
the
there?
aberration.
Why does it do that?
Because it is an aberration, as they say, it is running from the fact of death. It has to do something to escape from its identification with the matter which dies. The consciousness became identified with the matter which dies.
Why did it do that? Why did it make such a mistake?
Because it tried to build, it got restless and started to build as mind, because consciousness is not mind.
What is the difference?
Mind is projective and willful in its own right. I need to know. That is willfulness. I know has no willfulness in it. Would that be right?
Well, if you want to put it that way, then that mind has desire, right?
Yes.
I mean, because need gives rise
But
to
I don't
desire.
like to use terms that everyone,
No,
I
but I
like to
mean-
use some new terms
Yeah,
because
but-
that one's worn out a bit,
Yeah,
isn't it?
but need gives rise to desire, right? The sense
Yes,
of need.
yes, need is, yes, except, yes, need gives rise to willful, if one has not overcome willfulness. So therefore, I need to know. Now I say where I come from, I don't need to know anything. Therefore, I am implicit, and the truth is implicit in me, and I don't need to know anymore. Now that doesn't mean you've got to believe me, but I have to say where I come
Yeah,
from.
but then what is your attitude to knowledge? If you don't need to know, are you still willing or interested in knowing?
Oh, I love to meet with you, and I love science, and I read.
Mhm.
That is the past part of me. And I can live with that past as I'm going to let it die. And it doesn't matter if it dies, because I am not afraid, because I am forever. So you see, I can live with the past. That is the wonder of consciousness, without being afraid of being cut off by death, because I have gone back to where I escaped from into wanting to know. I am no longer afraid of death.
You're saying that the need to know comes to escape the fear of death.
That is so.
And that must come from another mistake, which is to believe that you are the same as the thing that dies. Right?
That is so.
Now,
Very simple.
why should consciousness make such a mistake?
Consciousness didn't. Man, by the very, it wasn't a mistake, it's an aberration, you see, because past existed. Because past, in the beginning of time was much slower. You see, time is only related to intelligence. We're going to get a little, well, do you want me to go into this yet?
Well, I mean, if you like, I mean, it's a little fast.
Yeah, fair enough. Are you all right, Mr. Bohm?
Oh yeah.
I'm not too,
Huh?
I'm not too intense, am I?
No, I don't mind that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Would you like to, where we're at, would you like to, because I've put certain propositions to you, you might
Which
have.
propositions then?
Well, I put certain to you that time, what did I say, the last 2 points that you made there? And I said about, I can only remember where I was up to, where I was going to say that time was much slower.
Yes, you want to say.
But I don't want to say that. I want to say where we were at before so that you could...
Yes, well, we're trying to say that what's going on.
Oh, yes, about death. That's right. And why man wanted to know.
Why you call it an aberration, but why should it be an aberration, you see? And you said the explanation is that time was much slower, at least that was part of it.
Yes.
And why does that produce an aberration?
Well, time is past, and as long as there's time, there has to be an aberration. There has to be a distraction. Because time is not used just to be in consciousness. See, in the timeless, there's no time. But as soon as something appears outside of you, there then starts to be time.
Yes, well, all of this is the past, right? All that we
Right,
see,
all of this is the past.
even though it seems to be immediate, it's still the past.
That's right. Now that came from the very first life forms on earth up to when man entered the body as a creative being. Now, as soon as he entered the body as a creative being, let us say 12,000 years ago, just for a time, right?
Do you have any reason to say 12,000 years ago?
No more than what someone has by carbon dating, which is also a part of the past dating itself. So that's, or 15 million, 1,000 million years ago. That's a pretty rough guess. But it's just to indicate more recently than what man normally associates with the coming in of the spirit or whatever. I don't use religious terms. I use where I come from because I know the past. I say I know the past. Now, when man entered as a reflective intelligence, which is creative, into the body that was prepared for him, he immediately entered the past. There were things apart from himself. He could see the past. That means time was there. Because time can only appear with a past.
Who prepared this? Or what prepared it?
What prepared it?
You say the body was prepared.
Yes.
By whom?
Yes. It was prepared by the consciousness.
By the universal consciousness.
Yes. by the cosmic consciousness.
Cosmic, yes.
Yeah. Yes, it was prepared. But I'm not going to go off into something that I don't take responsibility of. I'm not going to introduce some God like that, because I don't work that way. Everything is like the scientist I work, only in my way, where everything I try to put in its order. And I have written where that, which is a right question, but I can't answer it in 2 minutes, where that consciousness came from, and that consciousness, and then that consciousness, and the whole thing back. But we've got to stay really on the edge of time at this moment, because I can't go into the other. But so when man, if you brought your consciousness, when you wake up in the morning, if I could demonstrate it, time begins for you. Before that, there was no time. Is that correct?
Well, if you're not dreaming,
Well, that's a different sort of time.
it's still a kind of time.
Yeah, but it's a slower time, I think you'll agree.
Is it? I mean, I don't know if it's slower or faster.
Yeah, okay. Well, okay, it's a different kind of time,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the point I made that in the beginning, there was a different sort of time, because the materiality of objects, the materiality speeds up time. I have to say this, okay? You don't have to accept it. The materiality and the demateriality of things slows down time. And I suggest that if you go into theoretical physics, the more you dematerialize, the slower the time will get. I don't know anything about this, but I have to say that there is an aspect here. And the more you get into believing material things are the actuality, that all there is, the faster time will go for you. But the trouble when time goes fast, it's only the mind. You also get bored, because you've got to keep filling that speed of time. So you get bored and restless. So then you've got to keep making more materiality.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's quite straightforward, isn't it? And so, but in the beginning, when man first entered his body,
Well, was man there before he entered his body?
the body was there, yeah.
But man, the essence.
No, it was animal.
What? It was
Animal,
animal. But
yeah.
I mean, then
The animal consciousness, of course, it had a certain consciousness.
But the spirit, the human spirit, was created at that moment, wasn't it?
No, the human was not created. No, the human spirit came into this material body.
But where was it before?
Well, I would have to give you my book to read to some extent.
Yeah, at least can get back.
I can show you that as you did your book to me. I should show you mine so that there's no mystification in what I'm saying, because I don't like mystification. So this impulse, this creative impulse, let's say, or spirit, came in to a body that was prepared for it, just like you wake up in the morning and time begins for you. Let's say you're not dreaming, and time begins for you as you come to consciousness, because of the presence of the past. Time begins, because time is the past is the accumulation of time, which cannot accumulate because it's always now, but it is a form of accumulation. Now, but in the beginning, man had the ability, as I think I said in that tape or one of my other tapes, which tell this story, a lot of the stories, the myth of life, that in the beginning man could pull back as you do in sleep, but he could pull back consciously because he didn't have so much past in him. He could maintain his presence of consciousness, which I have, because I can pull back into myself in consciousness, and I can come out in consciousness. You don't have to believe me. But so, therefore, time was very much slower.
When you mean fast, it means that a great deal is happening, or
Yes, just like we've got now. You
Yeah.
can't stop. I mean, it's driving you mad. It's driving
Yeah.
everyone crazy, and you can't get off it. There's just too much time and past around.
Mm.
Now, so in the beginning, though, it wasn't like that. Now, what was the point where I was telling you? Why did it happen? So the more he started to get identified, because this matter pulls him forward, it has a magnetic value. He wants to know why. This thing, once it appears there, it pulls you further and further into it, and you become more and more material.
yes.
Right? So it pulls you into it. So their time starts to get more solid.
I mean, I would have put they go closer to the explicate order.
That's a fair enough way of putting it.
Yeah.
He goes closer and becomes identified with the
Yeah.
explicate order. And what is that? Its main point the main point that's meaningful to him is death. Once you identify with you as a man, you identify
and
with
everything
death.
in that order must decay. So you.
Yes. So that is how that happened. Now, to get back, because it's all there, as it was in the beginning, is now and ever shall be, is not just some lunatic religionist talking. That is the truth.
No, then that raises the question of death. I mean, are you say that when the body dies, see the consciousness of the individual does not die?
Yes, I say that.
Yeah, so,
but I can't demonstrate that. I'd rather demonstrate.
Some people have proposed that it sort of dissolves into the universal and the general. Right?
Yes, but Dave, you can have anything you want when your body dies. What your way of life and yourself has been is yours. Except that you can't disappear into love unless you have been love. When you have been love, that is the finest energy on earth that is possible in the consciousness. Because this consciousness can only be reached through love. Nothing else.
So what will happen otherwise?
Otherwise, you exist as yourself. That which is your main motivation. For instance, you as a scientist, because you are so serious and so sincere, it is your main, it is in you. When you die, you will have the opportunity to pursue similar inquiries. There will be no change. Everything is different.
But how will you pursue them without a body?
Well, let us say that the most of your scientific inquiries are made without your body. Would that be true?
Well, perhaps.
Let us say that you use, yes, I mean you see, when you drop a shell of yourself, let's say, if you feel inside yourself and you've got a pain, and you're not a doctor and don't know any particular part of the body, and even he doesn't when he's a human being, and you feel love inside of you, you don't know where you feel that love. You could say, oh, that's my body feels this love. And I could say, all right, then now I'm going to kill you. And you might find that that wasn't your body, that thing that you thought that your body was far deeper. That the feeling of love was not on your sense-perceived body, because you cannot feel love with your hand. You can't put your hand down your throat, or the doctor can't feel the love. So it's all supposition and all ignorance, because love is felt with a different sense completely to the sense that creates the body. Would that be
yes, but what do you say, for example, that when the body dies, some people would say there's reincarnation? What do you think of that?
There is no doubt that bodies are born, and that there is the creative principle of self-consciousness in most of them, and there is recurrence, because the past always has to repeat itself. Everything is a repetition of the same recurring. But as one becomes more present, one does not repeat oneself, because one becomes present. And what is present is now, and does not repeat itself, but is discontinuously present. Therefore, consciousness that you are talking about and continuously referring here. But what man doesn't like to meet is, and I'm not saying you, in this world, is another man who says, I am consciousness. And there are many men that have said it, of course, because he can't stand that, because that he has to face up to death in the presence of consciousness, because consciousness is his original state, when he was not afraid of death, when he started to run. So in the presence of consciousness, man, as the man who is ignorant and trying to run all the time, won't have it, because it makes him look too closely into his own origin, which comes from within.
Still, I'll just ask the question of when death takes place, and you say consciousness in some ways, the individual is still there, right? Present. Now, does he remain in that state? Or does he come back in another form? Or, is he sort of finished and saying whatever he did in his life, that's what he is?
Now, if you were finished, Mr. Bohm, could you imagine anything more ridiculous? Could you imagine it? out of all the time that you know, possibly 15,000 million years that have been, let's say a whole meter, and you're devoting your life, 70 years, or 80 years, whatever it is, that fragment of that meter, which proportional is nothing,
Yeah.
to the study of something that has no value. Could you believe it? What about the study of the 15,000 million years within when you were non-existent? I mean, would that be intelligent? Of course it would. It's so obviously absurd to study that, which is just, and not to study that, which is, would that be intelligent?
Yeah.
But would that be dismissed? You know, what I just said, would that be easy to dismiss?
Well, we'll consider it. You see, in considering, I'm just asking a question that said this 15,000 million years. Would you say each one of us has that behind him?
What would you say?
Well, in some sense, but I mean, as an individual, it's not clear.
But if you are an individual for 80 years and you put so much stock on it that you have a bank account and you are an individual and you actually pursue your life as though it was going to last forever, every day, investigating something of no value that's going to go when you die, what rot, you couldn't do it. It's an absolute act of unintelligence. I say that you know the truth, but you don't know it. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to everyone. You know the truth, that's what allows you to pursue such absurdity.
Well, there's no question we're all pursuing absurdities. The world is ready to blow up, which is another question. You see, why consciousness has got itself in such a mess, you see there.
No, consciousness hasn't got itself
Well, something has got into it.
The mind
has
got itself in such a mess.
Yes, now how has consciousness allowed this to happen?
Consciousness doesn't care.
No.
Nothing can happen.
The whole thing blows up.
See, consciousness, I am already dead. So it doesn't matter. Whether the thing blows up, it's only an aberration that's going to blow up anyway. Consciousness cannot be touched.
Yes, well,
you know that. You know consciousness cannot be touched. Because you know, even though, and I have to say this, if my wife, my children, my house, everything is taken, and my emotions are all touched, consciousness is not touched. You can take everything that I treasure or value, you can cut off all my limbs, until the very time, right next to death, my consciousness is not touched.
Well, then what happens at death?
Follow it through. You can lose everything and still be conscious. How about losing your body? Perhaps it would be a reasonable assumption, something like the statement that there's got to be life on somewhere else in the universe because there's so many suns, to repeat the possibility of it. The possibility of surviving death, as demonstrated in that argument that I just put, is pretty strong. But consciousness is always there. You've never been without it.
Yes, well, and if there is such surviving death as an individual consciousness, it seems from what you said before that you will be rather stuck with whatever you accumulated during your life. Right?
Yes.
But I mean, then is there no way out of that?
Yes, because there's a slower time. There is always time wherever there is consciousness and an existence. And to exist to carry forward yourself, there has to be some form of existence.
Yeah, so there still is time, but a slower time.
Because the materiality is less.
Yes. So we're saying, not that you see, now we have to get it more clear, because now we've been saying time is the past, right? But is this slower time also the past?
Yes, time is always the past.
Yes. But consciousness now seems to require some kind of time.
No, it cannot help but be, because it always, if there's any existence whatever, it will reflect, the consciousness is there to reflect that. And the reflection in between, the mind in between, will perceive time, or elapsement of duration or something.
Yes, now in that slower time, therefore, there's still a change going on.
Oh yes, change of self. Just the same as going on here. But it's slower time is faster time. If you don't mind, you could understand this because you're a scientist. The slower the time, the faster the oscillation. The slower the time, the realer the time.
The slower the...
Well, I don't know what to use the word, but the faster the time, the greater the materiality. Therefore, the greater the illusion. the greater the ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
The slower the time, the faster the intelligence, I have to say.
Yeah,
So,
well,
you would
yes,
get what I'm trying to convey, I think.
yeah.
So there is greater intelligence when you are dead than when you are alive.
Therefore, you can get out of the accumulation of what you have accumulated.
Yes, because there, the whole life there consists of reliving in a way that which you had here but did not appreciate, did not see, because we don't see much here. It's
No.
far away. We're too busy pursuing the escape from death. But there you have died. You cannot pursue the escape. You know there is no death. So now you pursue the investigation of your experience here, but with the new knowledge which changes thee, gives a value. Because value is what we're talking about. We have no value here. But there you have a value if you are intelligent enough to have a value. If you aren't intelligent to have enough to have a value, then you go on living another unconscious sort of life with no value, and then you come back. Well, not you, because no one remembers any previous, but that's all nonsense.
You say then there is reincarnation.
I would not like to talk to the world and say reincarnation, because that leads them to all sorts of imaginative ideas.
No,
It is not true.
But you say
There is recurrence of self.
Recurrence of self, but in another body.
Small self. Wanting,
Self.
trying self.
Yeah.
In other words, ignorance. With consciousness in it, which is its hope, which is its reflective capability, plus love, because without love, we are back the animal man. And that had instinctive love in it, but not a possibility of being love, because man can actually be love. No other creature has that. It has the capability of being love in a universal sense, in that it exists without any aberrant wanting or trying. All its wants and tryings are instinctive, and therefore natural, and that is a form of love. But we have the capacity, the ability, the extraordinary ability to be love. And love has no existence. Love is discontinuous. It appears new every moment. Because love unifies. And love is the unity of the implicate order which you speak about. But the scientist never mentions love, because he's not a human being when he's a scientist. It is wonderful to have a man of science like yourself here. Really, it is. It is really wonderful to have your consciousness. I want to say that. I love science. I do. I love it.
Yeah, well, there are a lot of points, which, you raised. They're not entirely clear in my mind. Because, there are a couple of different pictures you've given. And I don't quite see how they all come together. You see that, let me say that I agree with you that this whole situation going on has no point or no value. You see that the world is, even if it weren't destroying itself, it would have very little value.
Yes.
That this is one of the things. How are we going to have a world, people living with meaning, right?
Indeed. Is that a question? Did you ask me how?
I'm just
So you're saying
yes. That's the way I feel.
Yes,
right?
indeed. You'd have to, because you're a serious man.
And they may have seen this film on last Saturday night where,
I heard of it.
yes, which they showed the day after, this nuclear destruction and so on. And so nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. Now, see, I think that this is what's one of the things that lately has concerned me, that we seem to be drifting toward a catastrophe, and the closer we get to it, the less attention people are paying to what's going on.
Time's too fast.
Mm.
It's got too fast.
Mm.
Too fast. They can't see.
No, nobody notices, so they just keep their mind on a very narrow personal concern.
On the material world, which is so material now that it's about to end. It's going to finish.
You think there will be a war?
It's going to happen. Not yes, it's going to happen.
Looks likely, but
I've done a tape
yeah. On what?
that says why, how, why, and how it's happened.
Yeah, well, what is the meaning of going on with this thing if it's going to destroy itself?
I ask you.
But I mean, from
You
your
can't
standpoint,
do anything. Oh, from my standpoint,
yeah.
well, I could say this to you, if I may. Where I come from, if I say I am consciousness, and you don't have to accept that, but I have to speak to you from that position, all right? Consciousness has drawn you here tonight for me to speak with you and you to speak with me. And that is to bring about greater consciousness of that which is true and real within you. Because consciousness wants you to hear all that we have talked about tonight, to pull you closer and back more to within, because you have gone far enough within the subconscious into the theoretical physics and far enough into the material to come deeper towards your own immortality or your own fully conscious existence. Not linearly, but entirely. That's what it's about. And it's because it's near the end of time that you have been brought here.
At what point would it happen?
Because you are serious, you're a man of great knowledge, you are a scientific philosopher, therefore you are partial. And the idea is to make you less partial so that you jump from the notions and concepts in there, which are coming up from notional and conceptual towards this wonderful consciousness which you are, so that you get closer to making the jump over where you can get into the consciousness and then look down onto the explicit. Mm-hmm. You are coming up from the explicit to the other, but consciousness is... And that is because it is near the end of time. That this is possible. It also represents symbolically the meeting of consciousness and the scientific consciousness is very, very conscious, great consciousness, because it has delved into matter, it's delved into the reflection of this thing in past. It is a wonderful study. It's better as long as it is equal to the truly creative. I mean, it's part of the truly creative, but it is really creative. There's the two of them. The creative really is as we know, a creative man is really part of the divine, of search for the divine. The scientific, because it eliminates anything that can't be measured, like divine and love and all those things, is still terribly true. All it wants is that scientist, which is you, because you represent science, meeting the consciousness tonight. The two of us just facing each other. It only wants that scientist to turn within, or the consciousness to suddenly do that. And he'll realize the implicate or the implicit in yourself. Implicit in yourself. My God. And you won't need to know anymore because you'll be informed every moment, which is an extraordinary state. But not a state of knowing, because you can't know anything and have that. You can only respond to the question. Because if you knew anything, you would not be. It wouldn't be in the implicate.
Yeah. Well, for example, would it make sense in that state to raise questions scientifically?
Well, for instance, science raises it to me by it talks about the speed of light and things like that, and wonderful. And quantum theory, I love it because it's so close to getting close to consciousness. It's coming close to me, and I'm excited by it because you come close to me. And I want to help in any way I can for anyone who can listen. Most scientists can't. That's the wonder of being with you tonight, that we can actually, I trust we're communicating. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, I am delighted to be speaking with you. That we could possibly communicate, and perhaps at some future time we might be able to say even more, because we can only start the exploration at this stage, about quantum theory and relativity theory, as you say. They're both trying to get to this this consciousness. So I love because it is coming towards this state, out of the condition into the state, because this is a state that doesn't know any end and no beginning. But the condition is always looking for a beginning and an end.
Now, in this state, you say, it doesn't matter if we have a nuclear holocaust.
Because you're going to die anyway. What happens then?
But I mean, what is the significance of man going on in time then?
Well, I have described this in my book, and also in the papers not released yet. But there is a future. There is a future. And but it will be totally different. Totally. When I say totally, a total which we could not conceive of. Because that's the idea of it, to get rid of it. It's finished.
Get rid of this.
It's finished. It's finished. It can't correct itself. It's finished. And it's going to
get the impression when you look at it, that's true. I mean, I've had that feeling for a long time that nothing can be done with this.
Nothing can be done. That's because you know, you see. You know, that is the truth. It is finished. It can't correct itself. They're mad. We're all mad. I should be wiped out. I'm just part of it. I'm just insane. Nothing can stop it. Time has sped up so much, there's so much, it's so material that it's crystallized. All it is the moment that keeps crystallizing as the past. Until it gets so solid, it's so completely ignorant in its pursuit and values that you can't do anything with it. We're just caught up now. You're unfolding, if you like. It's just unfolding itself to destruction. It can't stop itself. But it's all right, because there is no death.
You say there will be another kind of time.
It will be a far slower time on earth.
But I mean, if there are no people, how will this be?
Well, only 99.9% of the human race will be. You can't wipe out the human
Well,
race.
it probably won't all go. I mean, some people in the southern hemisphere will survive, probably, especially.
Well, the principle at work is not just some might survive. The principle is the human race cannot be wiped out.
Why is that?
Because it is a cosmic thing, meaning it is cosmic means we're relating now to intelligence, which you yourself knows exists in the great order. You can't. It is intelligent. The order is intelligent. And that, whatever that is a cosmic intelligence of order, in which all is ordained and yet all is new every moment. And that is the problem with science keeps finding this, I would say. It is,
Yes, it's not. Many questions are how it can be ordained and yet new.
well, that's because it's discontinuous, and that is where quantum theory is going.
Yes, well, at each moment it's new, but you say the whole thing is nevertheless ordained, right?
By the past.
But how can it be ordained by the past if it's new?
It is the, let's see. It is the miracle of consciousness, that's all I can say, that it is ordained, and yet it is new. I'll have to go on to another thing. I would have to demonstrate that by saying that the universe has no past. All the Big Bang is a lot of eyewash and never happened, and it is an example of scientific ignorance to search for it. I'm only making a statement which I've got to demonstrate.
Yeah.
You understand? I've got to say that to make the statement. The universe is, and it's discontinuous, and it is all ordained because it's predictable. It's predictable, yet it's not quite completely unpredictable at the same time.
How can all that be?
Okay, then we can, the orbits of the planets and all the things that you
Yeah.
can measure is completely
So something
predictable.
that part is predictable.
And then I say it is completely unpredictable. When you take it as its whole implicit self,
Mm-hmm.
it is completely, but as soon as you get onto the past,
Yeah.
the past is always predictable because it follows a certain. But the greater you get the distance or the reality, because any cosmic object has a greater reality than any manufactured object, because it was at the beginning of time. It represents the timeless. We only give it time, but it has. We give it time, we give it past, because
No.
the scientific or the ordinary person's knowledge of time, notion of time, is all past. It is not time at all. If you get the notion of time right, and you can't get the notion of time, you've got to be present in the time and get rid of the notion to be the timeless. And then the action, the cause and the effect are the same. There's no difference, no room for notion. And that is a description of consciousness.
Yeah, well, I think, bringing a lot of things. I get a vague notion of what you're saying, but you're bringing in a lot of different things. No?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I understand. I am.
And it would take some
Yes,
work
perhaps.
for me to
Perhaps we
going
should.
into it. Well, I have to absorb some of this. You see, it's
Of course, I understand.
but I mean, first of all, you've got a different terminology, which I have to understand. A different way of putting it. But let me ask another question. I mean, I heard the tape. What was the name of it? The unbelievable.
The unacceptable,
Yeah.
unbelievable truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, I've been into all that before, but so I didn't find it hard to accept it.
Yes, of course.
But you see, you're saying it's truth. You see, and it was not clear to me why you say it's truth or how you came to the truth. And you said it with great energy, which carried a conviction. But at the same time, I was a little worried that maybe it would hypnotize the listener a bit. To just go along with it.
Yes, yes.
Or that it's something we would like to believe.
Yes. Yes.
I suppose, you see, how, I mean, I understood from the thing on the, from the, the thing that held the tape, I had a few words on it that you had got, it started out in quite a different way. You were in some business and
Yes, yes.
it was a change. I mean, and then you saw this. I mean, could you make it clear what all that means?
Yes. I started to enter myself, to go inside at the age of 32.
You gave up your business or whatever. I forget what it was.
Yes, but I've always, because I am a Western teacher, I've come to teach the Western intellect. I work in the world, I earn money and I pay the rent, and I don't
You still have another job now?
Well, not a great deal now, because I write, or I work for the centre, but I have income, but I'll be going over to working full time for the Tree, for our centre that we run shortly. But I work in the world, as you can see. I run a house and run a motor car, and I don't sit in. Although my knowledge comes out of the East, out of the original East, which is deep inside of me. I am thoroughly Western in my approach, because that's the only way I can talk to the Western.
Yeah, you said you did spend some time in India.
15 months, yes, 15 or 18 months.
Was that of any value to you?
Yes, only that I didn't meet anyone there.
No, but what was it about India?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I was led there.
But see what happened actually? You say you begin to look into yourself, huh?
Yes. What happened? I suddenly started to change from a newspaper man and very extroverted and thinking, following the normal things that newspaper men do, which is nothing except busyness, and started to go quiet and look inside and start to look at what's happening inside of me rather than what was happening outside of me.
Now, what did you discover then?
I eventually discovered immortality.
One of these questions.
I eventually discovered or found or entered the region of the mind, which is a stratum.
Which is?
A strata
Yeah.
of the mind. Of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
What I call the terrestrial mind, which is our mind, but it goes very deep. And I entered that area where one realizes the immortality of the being. And when you do that, it is never lost.
Well, you're not able to say exactly how that means, how it happens, or?
It is, yes, it's by a process of destruction of one's ignorance, of one's bad attachments.
Yeah.
That's, yes.
Are you able to communicate it to other people now?
Yes, I do. By the presence of my consciousness, I bring them closer to that strata of the mind. The very presence of such consciousness brings about in man and woman a descent into that consciousness. Like your consciousness would bring about a greater descent, as you would find with your pupils, that your very presence would communicate to them a greater understanding of the subject because of your earnestness and the area of the mind that you have penetrated by your detachments from other things and your meditation, as it were, on your science.
Yeah, well, that's probably true. Huh? Yeah.
And your mind goes towards an inner reality, and yours goes towards the communication of the external reality, a greater understanding of the external reality. That's all. But mine is more real. That's all, because we're all going to die. It's all that makes mine real.
Mm-hmm.
Because it puts you towards that rather than towards the other, which does not involve immortality. It is infinite. It has no end in its distraction.
Well, isn't the immortal also infinite?
The mortal is infinite.
But isn't the immortal infinite too?
Well, in this sense, in the truth, one has to pass through the finite into the infinite. But what I say, what science and everyone external is doing, is trying to find the infinite through an external finite.
Yeah.
And you can't do it. It just keeps going. It's just continuous infinite.
Well, that's a endless infinite. That's a endless extension.
Yes, an endless extension. It leads nowhere. Which what got us where we're going, which is nowhere. Except
but there's an inward infinite of depth.
Yes, but you must go through the finite. As outside, as you think it is outside, so it is within. You must go with the finite, and I am the finite. This body is the finite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not something outside of me, not an atom outside of me. That will never get me there.
No, but I mean the atom is also finite.
Yeah, but that will not get you there.
Yeah.
That is the distraction, because it's going away from death. If I go into my own finiteness, I go towards my own death. And as I do, as I explained about where I went in India, and where any man who is going towards the truth must go, he goes towards his own death because he starts to understand the attachments, and they are broken for him then as he goes in towards his death. Because he goes through the finite, and when he's gone deep enough through the finite, that means into the terrestrial mind, he then bursts through into the infinite.
Well, the terrestrial mind would be the mind, the collective mind of man, wouldn't it?
Collective, yes.
Yeah.
The whole
of mankind.
Yes, the whole of mankind, which is the reality. The individual does.
The individual is a manifestation of that collective mind.
Yes.
But
in a unique position in time. I don't know where we were, Mr. Bohm.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about... Yes, we were talking about going through the finite, which I am, my body. I'm talking about all of us. Through the finite body, the real body, which is the only thing I can identify as myself, rather than matter outside myself.
Well, of course, one depends on matter too. I mean, the air and everything around.
Yes, but one cannot feel that. One must feel one's own finiteness first to get to the infinite. One is not aware of one's own finiteness, one will never find the infinite.
Now, how are you aware of your own finiteness? What does that mean, like, precisely?
It means to start, instead of being dependent on the senses alone to communicate to you that you exist, to be able to apperceive, as I call it, within.
Yes, now apperception, according to the dictionary, means perception which includes perception of itself. That I looked it up. I mean, I read it somewhere else. I mean, you used it too, but I mean, some other people have been using it. It means perception which includes perception of self. You see it in the act of perception, I presume.
Yes. And that, of course, is a description of the state of being able to feel your own sensation. So one must be able to feel, first of all, to start to get in and feel one's own sensation.
Yeah, well, I understand that. I work on that myself. I'm sure that you have something else to say. I mean,
Yes. The question is, where does that one lead one? First, one must be sure that one has a right teacher to help them to find their real sensation and not their emotional sensation and their aberrating self, which goes on infinitely like the rest of it. One must be led by a right consciousness to focus onto their
what is the real sensation? You see, I mean, so let's say we have a sensation here and there, in various places, which are connected with thought, right?
Yes. And that is not real. That has to be all dissolved and unified so that it comes down to the sensation which has no position. In other words, does not create the illusion of an external body.
Yes.
As image.
Now, you see that the sensation one has, which you can see is produced by thinking, or by past, is, being present in various parts of the body, right?
Yes.
Now, you're saying that is not the, that is really an appearance only, right?
Well, it's an intermediate. It's an endeavor to get the attention whole.
Yeah.
By getting it at least partially conscious.
Yeah.
So
now what is the sensation you're talking about, the whole sensation?
A very difficult thing, except to demonstrate in your own experience, to describe, because now we're getting beyond matter, or we're getting beyond the...
But sensation, at first you say, is the sensation of matter, right?
That is so, which I am.
Which I am. Now,
Yes.
I am the matter of the body.
You are the matter of the body, that is so. As you are the consciousness of the body.
Well,
as you are the consciousness of the body.
Right. What would you say about my use of the word soma? Significance. Say, I am the soma, and I am the meaning, right? Significance, right? Now, does consciousness go beyond that?
Consciousness is are those two, the unification
of meaning and matter?
Yes, yes. Meaning and matter.
Yes. Now let's get to the sensation, the whole sensation, right? Which you're talking about.
Yes.
Have you communicated this to other people?
Yes.
Right.
It is always communicated by the perception of sensation.
Yes.
Because sensation in itself is perception.
Wait. Yes.
Sensation is perception.
What is it, perception? What kind of perception?
Perception of perception of perception of
right.
perception.
All right, that's perception, a perception of itself, right?
It has nothing in it, and yet everything is implicit in the perception, so therefore one does not need to know anything, because one knows all, because one can perceive what is being perceived and the perceiver. Everything is united, so one is beyond needing to know anymore, because one is informed continuously.
Yeah, but you can't be informed about all the details. You see, for example, how this machine works and so on.
I don't need to know that.
Yes.
If I need to know that, I just pick up the telephone and ask someone, because I can do that, because this has got nothing to do with I don't need that. It's one of the things you can take from me.
Yes. All right, so you're saying that, that this perception is perception of all that you need to know.
including death, which is all you need to know. Because if you knew the end there is no death, you're free. Is that not so?
All right, now,
But that's only the beginning.
the beginning of what?
This perception, the first thing that it reveals of value,
Yeah.
is immortality. But then, like the universe, it is unlimited. The first thing of value that is perceived by this by real spiritual apperception is immortality. Because that's the first immortality. I am immortal, which is the first thing of value, which gives one value. One can then look at the world and see what is of value because one has lost one's fear, which makes one bury oneself in an aspect of the world.
Now, is fear entirely the fear of death, or is it, might be, say there may be fear, for example, of frustration and fear of breakdown. People may be afraid of not having money, or not having food, or going crazy, or whatever, right? Or is that all reducible to the fear of death?
Yes.
How would you say that?
Yes, that is. Everything is reducible to the fear of death.
Even when people commit suicide to escape their fear.
Yes.
Why is that?
Why do people commit suicide? Why do I have a look?
Well, they may to escape what they're afraid of. That's one possibility. To get out of it. Huh?
Yes, but they are. It is a state of. It is the state of the mind, which doesn't care what it does, as long as it willfully does what it wants to do. It doesn't care.
Yes. But how is that connected with fear of death?
Yes, because it sees living. It sees living. There's death. There's nowhere to go. And living is death. Living is death in the sense of it is the reflection of death. Death is the reality, and living is the reflection of the reality. And it's a living death, and that's what extends it out.
It's strung out, yes.
Yeah.
So people want to escape that living death.
Yes.
And that's because time is caught in time, which is too fast.
Exactly.
If time was slow, then it would be slow enough to be able to deal with things, and yet
Not to deal with things, but to be able to see the truth.
to see the truth. But it would still be enough time to see. If you say slow, for example, you may have to do something very fast, nevertheless. Now,
Mm-hmm.
but then, what is the meaning of that? That you're not doing it in time. You
If
may be
time-
driving a car and you have to react very fast, right? And decide something very fast. Can you do that in the state in which the time is slow?
Yes, because the consciousness is moving at a tremendous speed.
Yes, the intelligence, right?
Yes, yes. It's moving at a
So
tremendous speed.
really, it's really the question that
One doesn't
being
try.
caught in time is the wrong reaction to what's happening.
Yes.
We try to react to all that's happening by speeding up psychological
Yes,
time.
yes. So we need motor cars. If you take it to the racial level, we need motor cars to continue to speed up. And that is the progression of time, is our own ignorance, our need to escape death, to fill in time, which we are creating ourselves.
Yes, but also we may have the impression that we need to produce this time to be very, to keep up with all that's happening, to keep in touch with all that's happening. There's so many things happening, and people try to stay in contact with it, and therefore their own time must speed up. Right?
Yes. What is happening? Nothing.
Nothing really, but I'm saying a lot of
Yes, that is so.
nevertheless, right?
So we create the need,
Yeah.
and therefore we're caught in our own need like we're caught in what we're doing now, and we can't stop it because it reached a point of no return, and we've reached it now.
When do you think it reached it?
It reached it in my consciousness. It reached it in my consciousness, in that it was revealed to my consciousness, last year. but it reached it a long time before that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, one had the feeling, that it's getting impossible, yes.
It was a possibility up to when it was revealed to my consciousness.
Yeah.
It was a possibility that might not be necessary, but
Yeah.
now it is beyond it. It's where I come from. It is beyond possibility.
Yeah, well, there are many questions, which are unclear. When we say my consciousness, your consciousness, nevertheless, there's one consciousness. You see, is it just the body that's different?
No, the problem is intelligence.
Yeah.
You see, if I could just speak to intelligence. First of all, I notice in the introduction to your book, the first thing that you raise is that there has been no solution to the nature of movement.
Yeah.
Now I have to say that I know what the nature of movement is, and so therefore it has been solved by what I am. And the movement, the nature of movement, is ignorance. In that, movement is an impossibility. Movement is an index of intelligence, the level of intelligence. If the human race were truly intelligent, there would be no movement.
Well, it can't mean that exactly. We still move the body, and so.
No, but that would not exist. So
What?
the movement of the body would not exist.
Well, how was that?
Because intelligence began with time.
Yeah.
In which intelligence extrapolated or projected itself out of consciousness. Now, intelligence really should be back inside consciousness.
Yeah.
Because it is implicit in consciousness, and consciousness does not need intelligence because it is implicit in it.
Yeah.
But man has projected his intelligence, and therefore has created movement. Now, if he were fully conscious, there would be no movement.
I mean, he would not, you have to put it differently, that he would not perceive the world as movement, right? That is, let's put it this way, I now perceive that my hand is moving. Right?
That's because, yes, you and I both perceive that, because that's the level of our intelligence. It
Yes, but what makes you say otherwise if how do you know?
Unfortunately, I know, but I shall demonstrate it as best I can. When you look at a star, and you can watch it and it never moves like the fixed stars, you are looking with greater consciousness and far greater intelligence, since that intelligence has started to disappear as a projected part. One is then looking with consciousness. And therefore, the object is more real, and the observer is more real. And so time, and also motion, disappears.
Yeah, but if there's also the movement of the star, that it is moving through space, and stars are moving around each other.
Not unless you measure them in the past.
But you see, do you feel it? Is it all desirable to make what you say consistent with whatever
Is,
and also the way we are generally looking at it? At least explain what's wrong with the way we're looking at it.
well, the way we're looking at it is that we have extrapolated or extended our intelligence so much that we have made everything move faster and faster, psychologically.
I understand that psychologically, but
actually.
Yes, but the natural movements are the same as ever. You see, like saying the moon, the Earth is moving around the sun, the seasons follow each other, and so on. Now that hasn't changed, right? Now, is that a real movement?
That is, yes. But as we perceive it, as you go deeper and deeper into the reality, which is the universe, everything moves more slowly. That's one way of looking at it. everything moves more slowly because you become more intelligent. The deeper you look into anything, if you look into matter, I would say, the deeper you look into it, it starts to disappear.
Well, it disappears, but whatever you see, in one sense, moves faster because electrons, particles move very fast.
That's because the intelligence is moving faster till eventually it moves so fast it becomes one with consciousness. But the movement slows down. The movement disappears. Does it not?
Well, you said just before, though, that intelligence moves very fast. Is that a real movement?
No, it's what I said about this oscillation of consciousness.
Yeah.
It is discontinuous.
Yeah.
And then when it's discontinuous, it is moving at maximum speed and therefore is still. So in matter, movement would start to disappear. The more intelligent you get as a scientist to investigate matter, the more your movement would start to disappear as movement.
Yes, but how would it appear then? When you see, like the seasons following each other and so on, the water falling down the cliff, and
Yes.
and how would you see it?
Well, then I would have to come out of the cosmos, which is a greater reality and a greater intelligence, if you can observe it, into the terrestrial, wouldn't I?
All right, so you could say movement is an appearance which is valid at the terrestrial level, would you say?
It's valid, but it shows of our lack of intelligence.
Well,
as a
intelligence is to say
perceiver.
that that's the end of it, right?
But
that movement is all there is. Huh?
That movement
Yeah.
is all there is. But as we become more intelligent, movement begins to cease, except at the sense perceptive level, which we're all stuck with, because that's where a racial expression.
And that's what I was referring to, that you will still see it happening there.
Oh yes, but the significance will change.
Yeah, all right, well that's...
Because of the consciousness is greater.
Yeah.
The intelligence is greater.
What will be the significance of that movement? Could we say that is an appearance?
Love.
But the movement of water and so on.
Love.
Yeah.
That's where we come. That's where
it's growing very fast. Huh?
Yeah. No. But really, that would be the significance of the waterfall.
Yeah.
Or of water, would be the communication. That would be love to such a consciousness. Any consciousness that is where I am, is only there because it is filled with love. That means it sees the significance of things, not the appearance or relationship of things, but the significance of it.
All right, but anyway, but even the appearance, you see, for example, if you're going to cross the stream, you have to pay attention to the appearance, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes, and the appearance itself, therefore, it may be a correct or an incorrect appearance, and insofar as it's correct, it must reflect something in the real, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. First of all, yes. It reflects the limitation of our intelligence, that it is necessary for us. That it is necessary for us to have that movement that reflects the level of our racial intelligence that is necessary. But it does reflect a reality within which is not differentiated. That's the problem. But the senses, our unintelligence, differentiate.
Well, perhaps the senses...
Which is the sense of isolation.
Yes, the senses may differentiate, but the unintelligence consists, I think, in the feeling and in giving the meaning that differentiation is the basis of the whole of existence, right? The differences of things.
Is the basis of existence, which is its ignorance.
Yes, that is the ignorance. Yes. Now, if we say it's all...
That is the intelligence.
But if we see it as an appearance of something which is all one, then that would be different.
Yeah, that would be different. But when you say all one, you've got to be very careful, because lots of mystics talk like that, and it's not the truth. Yeah. It misleads people who are trying to get to the truth.
Why is it not the truth? Then?
Yeah, we get the truth. It is seen as love.
What is seen as love? Everything?
Existence is seen as love, inasmuch as love is the unifying principle, and consciousness is only possible within the medium of love.
Now, we say the whole of the universe is love, then.
The medium to see it as it is love.
Yes,
that is, medium is love, and then one sees the significance of it, that it is a reflection of the reality within, and that when then one sees what this plant is, that it is beautiful, and it has a natural life which I invented has not the same nature of life as that, therefore is more separate from me, in that I invented it with my intelligence.
What did you invent with the intelligence?
This.
Yeah, oh, the chair, you mean.
Yeah, I meant the chair. Yeah.
So that is more different from you than the chair, right?
That is more, yes. That is closer to my being.
That is closer to your being than the chair, that's all.
Yes, that is so. Yes. Because this is a manufacture, this is part of the world that is going to destroy itself.
Well, we'll destroy that too.
It destroys everything because it's going to destroy, yes, it's going to destroy itself, but it's not going to destroy the reality of that.
What do you mean by that?
Because the reality of that is within. Because this is all, as you said, it has to have significance, the waterfall. And that reflects in the external world, reflects an undifferentiated reality within. And the plant reflects an undifferentiated reality within. And consciousness, through the medium of love, sees that meaning.
So the meaning is really what will not be destroyed.
As much as you cannot die, you will not be destroyed. You will be you.
The meaning is part of consciousness, right? Is in consciousness.
Is in consciousness. But the problem is the notion between.
The notion, which is the notion thought or?
Yes. Yes. Analyzing. And finally, that is. Understand? I mean, we've all analysed, but finally we're talking about getting into consciousness. We're talking about eventually all that will go. And that is why you talk in your book about this creative, where the idea suddenly comes. That comes out of consciousness. And you don't analyse anything. It's suddenly there. That comes from consciousness. Which everyone has, of course. But it is to realise that consciousness which you are very busily engaged in. That whole book, that paper, shows you're very busily engaged in that. That is what you want most. Above all things, that's what you want. And every word you've written there is to get out what you know now so that you won't have to know it again. Get rid of it. Get rid of all that stuff that you've got there so that I can get closer to it. Everything we do like that is a getting out of the rubbish, the notion. Because you are going towards it, and you have, as far as I am concerned, you have come. And you will not be the same again. When you, in 20 or 30 years' time, when you are dying, much of this will recur to you.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll be 20 or 30 years there.
Okay, well, I'm going to say that because I'm not going to put any ideas of when anyone's going to die.
No.
But so all I say is at the moment of death, the significance of this conversation above all the ones that you've had this will be part of your consciousness at that moment. For this is the truth. And it will help you to stay conscious when most people lose consciousness.
What do you mean by it? You say you stay conscious in death, is it?
That's the idea. Have you heard may I speak to you of death? The whole thing is to get one to the understanding of death, or ready for death before one dies. Isn't it? I mean, that's every teacher, isn't it? And every all of them. No matter who it is. A spiritual teacher is, that's what it's about. And to say there is this state of consciousness. But I see right through your book. This is your whole motivation. I mean, it's expressed in scientific ways and all but this is your inner. Because you've done so much meditation on the external and through the sciences and your great meditation on the scientific verities.
Yes, well, you may be right. I mean, I've had a feeling that it's coming near the end of what you can do in that sphere. I mean, naturally it's useful to go on, but I mean, because I want to communicate with other people, and they do listen to the scientific approach.
Yes. But you understand that I am not. I recognize and acknowledge science, and I am very. I am very. I am admiring of science, the scientific.
Oh.
I do. I don't. But I have to speak from this level coming down, because that science is coming up to that, trying to get up to that. Well, the scientist himself, because he's a man before he's a scientist. But he forgets that sometimes in his scientific application.
You see, and as you say, I've written that book and a few articles, and I was rather surprised that I got quite a response from the book. Not from scientists, because they don't like to look at these things, but
From people.
people.
That's
overall.
wonderful. People are the things that matter, human beings.
Now it occurred to me, that this age is an age where people listen to science. You see, that has a great deal of authority, and therefore, if a thing can be put in those terms, at least quite a few people will listen to it, and it will carry conviction.
Yes.
Now I'm trying to work out, to go further, and to work out some way of presenting the notion of time. In fact, I agreed, that we're going to have a conference in California on some of these things, and I agreed I will give it, present a paper on it and so on. You see, some of the points I raised is, you see, how are we going to connect this, this eternal with time? You see, is there a connection, or is it useful to connect them? Not only to throw light on scientific questions, but also to interest people and bring them in this direction.
Yes. Yes. Well, I am working as hard as I can from consciousness, and consciousness has a terrible job, because everyone believes in the notion, and they have to come up through the notion to approach the consciousness.
Well, then the point is, presenting thought or the notion or concepts in a certain way will show the implications
as much as it is
deeper.
possible.
Yeah, right.
But unless they turn within.
Yeah,
unless they turn within.
But it may at least prepare the ground, or to some
Indeed.
attract attention.
Indeed. People like yourself, great scientists like yourself, writing about the possibility of consciousness playing the part that you indicate. My God, that's a wonderful advice.
Now, I'm trying to see the question of motion is really the thing, as I said in the book, which is not clear movement. Right? Now, if you say no movement, all right, but see, then why is there an illusion of movement?
Because we are intelligent, and if you become more intelligent, the more intelligence goes into become consciousness, the less movement, the less movement has all the significance. See, at present, only movement has significance for man.
Why would you say that? Yes.
But that's wrong.
Yes,
He's seeing significance in the movement instead of seeing the movement and the significance behind the movement.
Yes, all right, so let's go into that. But see, the way the senses work is that they perceive changes, right? That's been investigated scientifically. The eye, if you attach a mirror to it in such a way that the eye is constantly shaking and moving and so on, it perceives a boundary by crossing, that the vision is crossing the boundary line, and the changes at the boundary line are perceived, right? Now, when they fix up a mirror so as to cancel out those changes, then all vision vanishes. Right? What happens is that the perception picks up the change, and the brain reconstructs the object from the changes, right? The boundary, and it reconstructs what's inside. Without that information from the boundary, it doesn't have any guide. So, by the way, what would you say about the brain? You see, it seems it's quite necessary for thinking, right? For concepts or for notions.
If you want to deal in the past, the brain is necessary. But if you want to deal in the present, how do you know you've got a brain?
Only from the information.
Well, that's not good enough, is it? That's in the past.
Yes, but when somebody's brain is damaged, for example, he is unable to do various things. He can't think, he can't move.
Doesn't make any difference to consciousness. You're looking at someone else's brain. The thing is, can I look at my own state while my brain is not damaged, let's say, like his? Can I be myself? Can I be present as myself now and truly investigate the fact of myself rather than the fact outside of me? Because when you investigate the fact of yourself, you arrive at the truth. When you investigate the fact outside yourself, you never arrive at the truth. Now, where is the brain at this moment? I don't have a brain. I am just pure consciousness.
Well, what is the function of this brain then?
To manufacture the past.
Yes, and what is the purpose of that?
It is made of time, the brain. So therefore, everything it makes will be time, or will be past. So all thought is made of the brain, because all thought is of the past. So it's all made by the brain, if you like to use the model of the brain, which is the record of the past.
Yes, but then somehow this whole evolution is developed in such ways to produce all this. Does it have any significance, all this, the world, we say all these plants, all of nature, which they're of the past as we see them, right?
Yes. They developed in time. Because from the first life form on Earth to where they are today.
That's right. Now, does that have any real significance?
No.
Why is it there at all then?
It's there as a reflection of the undifferentiated reality.
Yes, why should there be such a reflection?
Because it is the senses that project it all. The senses do not see it.
Yeah, but the senses, are the senses of the body?
The senses are of what appears to be the body.
Yes, but could we say that whatever reality there is behind the plant or the body or so on is in the undifferentiated consciousness?
Yes.
What we perceive as the body is perhaps an appearance of something else.
No, it is a projection.
A projection.
Yeah. It is a projection through our own senses.
Yes, well, that's what I mean by an appearance, that this projection
comes from,
and therefore is in some sense an indicator of something about what is projecting.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Because everything mirrors the reality.
Yes, that's right. So that it's the appearance of that reality.
Yeah. In time.
Yeah.
Now, time is a distorting thing. So therefore, everything is not what it seems.
Yes.
Because time is now, let us say, I'm going to say this, time is now, the creative past is 12,000 years old. The animal past or the special past is, anything like 2,000 million years old. And the distortion is enormous. So nothing is seen as it is, and things are more and more differentiated, like the language is becoming a phantasmagoria of nonsense because it's just getting more and more differentiated, more and more away from the truth of love and of being. So therefore there's words to describe all this monstrosity of machines like that, which have no feeling, no being, no love, and every human being is associating himself with it, and the children are playing with it, driving themselves further away from love, further away from being, further away from consciousness, further and further into information, when really they should be into knowledge, because information is not knowledge. The whole world is filled with information and no knowledge, because only consciousness knows the knowledge. Consciousness realized. So that's what the world consists of. That's what's strangling us.
Yes. Now, could you say that, assuming, say that we weren't going to destroy ourselves, that if there were some new perception of time, would this change the world then?
There's not time now.
What?
It could for you.
Wait a minute,
It
just
could for you.
not for the world.
No, it's finished.
It's too late.
Yeah, but it's not
In
too late.
principle, it would be possible. I just put it hypothetically, if
Yes,
we were not faced with this catastrophe, it might have happened.
If we could change, all of us, if we could change all of us as individuals,
Yes.
yes, we could do it like that.
And then that
But
would
it's
change
impossible.
change the world.
Oh, yes. But you've got to know what's got to be changed.
Yes, what is it that's got to be changed?
First, you've got to get rid of the intelligence
What do you mean, get rid of the intelligence?
as a projected thing.
Yeah, the projection of intelligence.
Yes, they've got to get rid of that first. No, you can't do that. It's gone too far. So it now is running. The projected intelligence, not us, has taken over. And it's going to finish us off.
But consciousness is not concerned with that.
No. Because consciousness is. Now, the important thing is that you are here. You can change. You are changing. You are changed. You will be changed. But you are changed. That's the important thing, because only the individual counts. There is no hope for the masses.
Yes. Now the individual is but we said before, the individual was a manifestation of collective consciousness, but he is also something more.
He is you.
I mean, he also is in tune potentially with consciousness in the cosmic sense. Right?
He is even with the consciousness at this moment. I am that consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I have to speak from this position. I trust you can tolerate it. But you could say it to me and I would have to say, yes, I am with that consciousness, if you declare that to me. Because you have to be with the realized consciousness for your own consciousness to rise towards the realized consciousness. And
is there such a thing as, what do you mean by my own consciousness which rises? You see, is there some consciousness within the body or something? Or?
there is the actual total consciousness is within your body, yes.
And some part of it is in the body.
No, it's all in the body.
All in the
Every
body.
single bit of it.
Yes. Now, but then
It is the body.
But is that which rises to the cosmic?
Well, the cosmic is also within you.
Yes. But when you said something rises to the cosmic, consciousness
Yes.
rises.
Well, I say that I am realized cosmic consciousness, and therefore, by the very presence, I mean, you could say the same thing if you don't mind. I'm not trying to say that
Yeah.
I've got to come from where I am.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can't have any honesty. I have to declare myself. I say that our being together, like two systems, that the realized consciousness that I am will be communicating itself to your consciousness, which is exactly the same, only there is notion and self-forgetfulness in you. And it's the self-forgetfulness that the consciousness is pushing against your consciousness, and mine is reaching to your consciousness, because two states are never separate. They can't be separate. A state, there can only be one state. There can't be several states. They're all conditions. The state of consciousness in you is exactly the same as the state of consciousness in me. But you have, if you don't mind me using, there's only two of us talking, you have between you a notional idea of something else. And your state of consciousness and my state of consciousness are pushing this like this, squeezing this, shaking it. And your consciousness is continuously growing. In that the other is diminishing. Because we are getting close to death, aren't we? We are getting close to the end of time. And that allows, when there's only so much of everything in the universe, I think the scientists coined that.
Or a scientist?
Science does that, says that. There's
Well,
only so much of everything in the
Well, but
universe.
it's an immense universe.
Doesn't matter. There's only so much. And one of the things there's only so much of is time. Passing. Even though it's being made every moment, there's only so much of it. And it's running out.
Well, it's running out for us, but I mean, say, for example, other parts of the universe, it may not. Yeah. I mean, we said there are other stars and so on, there may be life.
We also said that was only a reflection of the undifferentiated.
Yes, it's all a reflection, but that doesn't, there might still be life continuing on the other planets, right?
I wonder if it continues. I wonder if our concepts are not the world that's going to be destroyed in us. I wonder if all our concepts, which are of our projected intelligence, are part of the reason why we can't go on. I wonder if they're. I wonder if the very things that we discover, the laws that are applicable everywhere, are of our own projection, because that's what they are. We find what we're looking for because we knew it and projected it. So there's no end to the particles and the state. No end. You'll find it. You'll continue. But you'll never find the truth.
But for example, suppose there were some beings, intelligent beings, who were in another star. They might,
Yes.
they might even observe our world destroying itself. Right?
Yes. Yes. They would have to come from within and be projected through the senses to out.
Yes.
But you notice that we haven't had any communication whatever from any intelligent life in all the time we've been here. Why do you think that is? Isn't it extraordinary?
Well, maybe partly a matter of distance. And
if they're intelligent, if they're any more intelligent than us, they should be able to get across that. But there's a cosmic reason for it, is that there is intelligent life is all around us in the cosmos, everywhere. But we're too unintelligent to even be fit to make contact. That's why we've got to be destroyed. We are not fit to make contact with the rest of the universe. We're not fit. We would kill it, exploit it, form a company, put it in a cage.
Well, that's probably true. I think Arthur Koestler wrote a book to that effect. The sequel to 2001 AD was that in 2010 AD, where I read that that finally the intelligence of the rest of the universe sort of set up a boundary for human activities and saying, we just don't want to bother with you, you stay there.
Yes. But only the consciousness that I have realized, and that I am not just in this position in time and space. There is other consciousness the same as mine in other positions of time and space. But all this consciousness, although one, has its uniqueness as the individual in that particular time and space.
Yeah.
So therefore, my consciousness has particular knowledge, has another consciousness of the same realization has its particular knowledge. And so I know why, what has to be done on it, and what will be done.
You see, you're implying that there's some value, in spite of the impending destruction of mankind, that most of it, that there is some value to going on with whatever we're doing.
No.
Well, just now.
No, I'm saying that there's only one thing that has to be done on Earth, and that is about to be done.
Which is?
To make us have some value to our life.
And which is what?
There's only one value to life.
Well, to see it.
No, that is life itself.
Yes.
There is only one value, and there's only one life on this earth. Isn't it? And that is the species and mankind.
Yes, but now you think this species will somehow go on, and you said before.
Life will go on.
Life will go on, perhaps in reduced numbers, and that possibly it will be different.
Life will be very, very different.
Yes.
For a start, everyone will be like I am. My consciousness, everyone will be in consciousness. Not like I am, this thing. Not like this thing that's got to be obliterated, because it's just not. It's too ridiculous. But the consciousness realized that I am, which has overcome the world in its consciousness, it won't have the worldly consciousness. In other words, it will be new every moment. It won't have the past in it.
Yes, well, that makes a tall order, because people remember it. They'll be able to consult memory, but they will not have the past in their consciousness, right?
Anyone with any intelligence
Yeah.
does not consult memory unless they have to deal with the world.
Well, that's what I mean, to deal with the world.
So there'll be no world, will there?
Well, people might have machines of various kinds, for example.
Everything be destroyed.
Then what will survive?
Do we need machines to survive?
Are you suggesting that those people who survive will not use any technology?
I don't know. I can only ask that question. I mean, we mustn't go into the speculative.
Yeah.
Because we get off the...
Yeah, but I mean, if there are things they've got to do, then they may have to remember how to do them, right?
No. The only thing they've got to do is the same as we've got to do now, and we to save the world, to save ourselves. And that is to be us, to be in touch again with the timeless within us. That's all they've got to do. And if we could do that, there'd be no need for it. But we can't do it, can we?
Are we able now to say anything of the relation between the timeless and time? Are you going to say that time would have no point whatsoever, not even as a useful?
Time is useless because it only extends the misery.
No, but I mean, like keeping track of things, like saying you watch the seasons, you plant in the right time and so on.
Well, I'm not going to project it to when after this happens. I can't project it because that's too speculative, and I must not get into speculation. I can only address myself up to a certain point where consciousness will allow me to go. After that, it becomes speculative.
But where we are now, for example, we have got to have a certain minimum consideration of time. Like even in a very primitive society, you have to say, well, if you're agricultural, you'll plant your plants at a certain time and harvest at a certain time. If you're hunting animals, there's always a right time to do it, or whatever, you see.
Yeah, well, you didn't need that. You didn't need reminders. If you were yourself.
I mean, you will be intelligent enough to do it.
It's all implicit in the being.
Yeah.
That we couldn't stand that. We couldn't stand to be the implicitness of the being. We had to invent a notion in between the being.
Oh, I see. What you're saying is the notion of time is getting in the way.
Yes. Which is the notion. The notion is time. Mm-hmm. The time is notion.
Why do you say time is notion?
Time is thought. Things.
Now, will you say that there's no place for any thought about time, the notion of time, right?
There is...
I mean, for example, the watch by which we agreed to meet at 8 o'clock.
But you don't... You see, a notion is something that you cling to, are attached to. So is thought. Man is attached to thought.
Yeah.
Now, if he could just look and see, he wouldn't have any thought. As I define thought. If he could just look and see, he doesn't need to work anything out. But of course, because of the timeliness, we all have our moments when we've got to work something out. But that's because we're filled with time and thought in our existential selves. But in our discontinuous self, which is the consciousness, we do not need it. But we can use it.
Mm-hmm.
We can, as long as we're not attached to it. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. And I say, right, I'm going at 8. Damn it all, do you know I probably won't get up till 10 past? Because the notional self is all wrong. It doesn't know when I'm going to go. My body will get up and go when it's ready. My notional self will get in the act and say, oh, I've got to go, and still not go. And yet, sometimes it'll get straight up and walk out before time. And I'll make some excuse for it, my notional self. All nonsense. Nonsense. Because it is not true, but okay, it exists in us. But we've got to get above it and round it so that we are the thing that surrounds it. And we can laugh at it and see its stupidities, but we're not attached to it.
Yes, I understand that, yeah.
But this is a state of being. It is not something that I just make up. I come from that state.
Yes, now what I want to do, is can I work out a scientific approach which states this, you see, that this notional time, the time appears as a kind of map of activity, right, of a movement and development, right? Now, but of course, in insofar as we're not attached to it, then it does not do any harm.
But at the same time that we're not attached, there has to be the other hemisphere. Cannot do it just that way. You must be going in and examining yourself into yourself. You must be apperceiving the reality, the finite of yourself. If you're not doing that, you can forget it. It's like all the people studying Buddhism or something else. Most of them going nowhere. They're into the subconscious, which is infinite, as infinity itself. And there's no end to it. We have to be real. We've got to be tremendously earnest. And then you do both at once, and the hemispheres come together. The body and the mental, as you say, come together, and the consciousness and the body that I am, the finiteness, are one. It can only happen while the inner development is taking place at the same time as the outer development. And the scientist has to do that, or he is still going to die and become old and decrepit. And he should not, with all the wonderful intelligence that he's used, and how the wonder that he's built things, and the wonder of revealing the wonders of the laws that he's discovered. It's so exciting. But he must not be attached to it only to that. He must be attached to himself, the blessed earth, which is the feeling within him, his apperceptive being. He's lost touch with that. He's left the blessed earth, so he's got to be finished. If you want to tell him anything, go to the timeless. Detach from the time, and you go into the timeless. But do it consciously. By the detachment of the world in yourself. You've got to start getting the world out of yourself.
Right. Now, in that, you find that the time present is discontinuous, and that there's no continuity.
It's because you won't cling to some idea that you've had, one of your favorite opinions or something. You won't come from that. You must come from the fresh and new, from the innocence of consciousness, new every moment, with implicit faith. Implicit faith in your own, or whatever it is, your entire absence as thought or memory. You must be new every moment, and you must come from that place. And that is the ground of the blessed earth which is within me. Then I come from the real earth. Then I am life on earth. I am man on earth. Then I am the consciousness of the planet Earth, which I represent as the highest of the species, the only one of the species that can reflect on itself. Not just without, but reflect on my reality from within. And implicit in the unification of those two hemispheres, through the love I am, through the love I am, it's not the person, then I am whole, then I am discontinuous, then I am new every moment, then I am detached, and yet terribly involved with my fellow man. So it's a bit difficult to put scientifically, because, in one aspect, I no doubt you can do it, but it does involve this tremendous, this other hemisphere that has been neglected. Or the notion will get in the way.
Yes, I think our whole way of life is preventing that. As you're saying, that everything speeded up, and so many things, unimportant things happening, and absorbing all the attention.
Yes, it is true. It's true. But don't worry. There's that one thing that usually sobers us, or turns us within, is usually death or loss. And that turns us in for a little while, but not for long these days. Because again, when we think the world's over, we soon find something to. But this time we're going to run out of world. So the important thing is to try to do it first. I shall be releasing this new tape in the new year, I think. The tape on the
relating, what do you mean?
On the tape relating to the time that is left.
Oh, you'll be talking about
it. Yes, I have a tape that's going to come out in the new year. But I don't know. There is no relationship between the past and the present, between time and eternity. None at all.
What about the other way?
Except man. And inasmuch as he can straddle, be the bridge between the two, he can speak about the two. And you, of course, are trying to straddle that bridge. You represent this side very wonderfully, this scientific side of you, straddling it, trying to get so that you can speak from both sides at once, discontinuously. And the new theory will be what I'm saying. Relativity theory and quantum theory, as you say, I've been very interested in reading that. But this idea of time that I am expressing is what the new theory is. It is complete and utter change, where the scientist must give up and must make a radical change in himself to get rid of his notional self. Because without that, you just keep going into infinity. You've certainly been taking them up towards that.
What?
You've certainly been taking them up towards that, haven't you? Right through that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to write another book. You see, I've gotten some material ready. But you see, I've got to get this question of time clear before I can really get on with that. But that's material and so much significance will be included in the other book with some expansion.
Well, you're going to be different after this. I hope you don't mind my saying that. I have to say it because that's where I come from. And you will be helped to say what is new from your own reality. You'll be helped to come from a realer and truer place, because it's only consciousness which is one that wants it to be done. And RKP are going to publish my book, your publishers.
Mm-hmm.
They've got it now.
What is it entitled?
The Origins of Man and the Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to read it?
Oh, yes. You have a copy?
I have a copy here, which
Well,
I
that would be
thought
good.
you might read, because we've talked so much.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yes.
it would be good if I went over it in the book, because then I could
Yes.
see your presentation more
Yes,
systematically.
yes, of course. I thought that might be because you were good enough to give me yours to read, but unless I talk first, the book, it's much easier if my consciousness, which is my words, also, because same as yours, I mean, I'm no different to you, but on my words, when we speak, there is an energy. The energy of the consciousness is in the very voice. And so that prepares us for these new ideas that come in.
Yes, well, I mean, your voice had a very strong energy in the tape there, I noticed it. I remarked on that. But I mean, I felt at the moment that it might, there could be, as I said before, a danger in it, carrying just by the force of the force of the thing, right?
Well, the protection against that, and this is where you have to be very careful, if I might say this. My protection of man against me is to say, I am not dead, like all the masters, or most of them. I am not dead. I am here, and you can ask me any question you like about life or death, anything, and I will answer it from a position of consciousness. Now, man doesn't like that position normally, because he can't use his imagination. He's got a front up. So if I am hypnotizing him, then I'm prepared to do it every day of the week, time after time, to different men all the time, so that they can destroy everything that I say if they can. But they can't, for I come from the place of consciousness. And the next thing is, I try to be as rational and as down to earth as I possibly can, so that I do not use mystification. Would that be fair enough? I'll try to speak straight. And that also is because this teaching is by the consciousness itself has come to the Western intellect, which is no fool. I mean, it wants facts. And so I speak to that consciousness. And the third thing is, I might suggest to you, be careful that the past, which is the notional self, which has got to defend itself because it doesn't want to get rid of itself, doesn't present these ideas about my hypnotic effect or something, if I was that good, my God, this would be, imagine that, I'd have the whole world down, bowing at my knees and making all the notional stuff. What I am saying is either true or it's false. We don't need any notional in between. And the thing is to look and see, is there mystification? Is the man trying to hide something? Is it straight? Can I ask him any question? Will he talk to me all day and all night while I keep asking questions? Try, we got to, so that the notional self doesn't have any place to hide, because it's amazing what it'll get up to. To try to retain its time, to make more time for itself. So, I trust that you don't feel that I've hypnotized you.
No. Well, I mean, it's anyway. It's a different tone now we're talking, but
But you see, the tapes are no different to how I talk when I talk here.
I think that comes across stronger because of the way the whole machine works.
Oh, fair enough. Of course, that would be. But the important thing is, when you meet me, I still talk about the same thing. I don't change the story.
No. It was just my first impression from the tape.
And that's fair enough. As a scientist and a man right down to earth, why shouldn't you? We should be looking for. I understand that. I understand that. But I trust and hope I am consistent in the tapes and in my every moment of my life. I trust, except when I'm being stupid. Like always. I'm not going to include you in that, except when I'm being stupid.
No way. Right. Well, I think my wife would probably be expecting me back soon, so that
I would still like to say that it was a privilege.
No, it was very good to come this evening, and I'll be I'm looking forward to hearing the tape.
It might take a little time for our people to get the time, put it on tape, but I was get it to you.
On the cassette, rather.
The cassette, yes.
Yeah.
We'll have to make a few cassettes. Oh, yes. I don't know how long we've been here. What is it?
It's about, I don't know, we started at 8 o'clock, so it's well over 2 hours.
Yes. And so, if you'd like to take this, because you know how difficult it is to get around all ideas, and you've been very, very patient, and as I use different terminology, of course. And
right, so I'll read this thing over the Christmas vacation. I'll just get started now. And this goes into all these points that we're raising, right?
And and many more.
RKP is going to put an option. Can I keep this, or do you want it back?
I would like it back.
Yes, all right.
But you keep it to me.
Are you in a hurry to get it?
If you don't mind. No, how long would you want to keep it?
Well, it's hard to know when. I should be able to look at it over the weekend, and maybe within a week or two I should finish it.
Oh, that'll be okay, yes. As long as you don't...
let you have a proof copy. Also.
What?
We can let you have a proof copy when it comes through.
Yeah, thanks. Well, let's see how many pages I have.
It's a lot of, and it's...
Yes, well, it will take me longer than the weekend to do it.
Yes, of course it will. No, how long, I mean, Cheetah, when do we need
I was only thinking when I have to do the index, that would only be, I should think, March or so.
Oh, well, I should finish it long before
February. And then you could have a proof copy. That'll be...
It's because I'm going to be off to California in the middle of February for about 6 weeks.
Oh, yeah?
I understand you are going to Australia.
Yes, in January. I'm going to be back middle of February, so we'll be crossing like that.
Yeah, well, anyway, I'll be back in April, so.
I see. Okay.
Do you still have ties with Australia?
And my mother is out there. And
she must be pretty old then.
Yes, she is. We're going out and see her this time. Yes, she's...
Where does she live?
In Sydney. Do you know Australia?
No, I don't know. I've never been there.
No.
I mean, I might go there someday. But...
You are a Californian?
No, I was born in America, but I've lived here since 1957. And I was in California for a few years. But you see, I usually go to visit, this time there's going to be a conference at Claremont on the implicate order and another one in Notre Dame, and then I usually go to visit the Krishnamurti Foundation there.
Yes, I understand you're a friend of the Krishna.
Yeah.
A wonderful, wonderful teacher. Wonderful. The consciousness from its own unique place in time and space, as all men are, if they can realize that consciousness. Wonderful man.
Yes.
And wonderful truth. Is that
Yes, he's an unusual man, yes.
I do know the man, I only know the truth of the man.
Of course, he's now pretty old. He's 80, getting on for 89.
Is he 89?
He still travels around the world.
Yes, yes. Still saying the same thing over and over, and very few can ever hear it.
Well, you may know he's organized schools in various places. And,
Yes.
I've spent quite a bit of time at the Rockwood School in California, talking with people.
Yes. He is a man that knows the truth. I once met him in India.
Mr. Kuttner mentioned that yesterday. Where did you meet him?
I think it was in Bombay when I first went to India.
How long did you talk with him?
I went there for, I think we had a 20 minutes period, or half an hour. I walked in. We both sat down. Didn't say a word. I walked out the end of it. Because I loved him. As a teacher, it's his truth. I loved his truth. And that was enough.